Hi guys, welcome to episode 13 of Learning to be Blind, and today I'm going to talk to you about the ICT training that I did at Bartimeus. And the reason why I said did is because I've actually finished that training now, and you guys are missing some of what's happened in that training because I haven't filmed any videos on half of that yet. I did 6 computer lessons there. I went with a goal at the beginning. My goal was to actually learn how to edit videos while being blind. If you guys have seen the last video, you will know that I have stepped over to a Mac and I have managed to reach my goal by learning to use VoiceOver and iMovie together so that I can edit YouTube videos. I learned a lot of things about VoiceOver within those 6 computer lessons, so it wasn't just so that I could learn how to edit videos, but how to use my computer in a general sense with VoiceOver so that I didn't have to struggle to read the screen anymore. I've probably learned over 100 different keyboard commands. I have learned lots of other tips and tricks regarding different types of applications and different types of programs. Everything that I've learned, my teacher wrote down for me because I have a really shaky memory, and if I just went to the lesson and tried to remember everything that he was teaching without having anything written down, I wouldn't have got very far. So I have cheat sheets. I have a list of commands on my iPhone, and they're also accessible in the Notes app on my computer and my iPad as well. And all of the tips and tricks that he sent me, I have saved into different files which are on a USB stick so I can access them from my computer if I need to remember how to do something, because I have the world's worst memory and I'm never ever going to remember everything that I have been shown and taught. We got done really quickly with the computer lessons. There were supposed to be 8, but I managed to get through all of the work in 6. Then we stepped over to iOS, so we decided that, I decided that I wanted to learn more about VoiceOver on the iPhone and the iPad because they come built into every Apple product, so not only the Mac but also the iPhone and the iPad VoiceOver is built into. And I did 4 iPhone lessons to learn more about VoiceOver. I could already navigate my phone and my iPad in a reasonable way without having any lessons, simply because before I realised that my eyes were going backwards, I couldn't see my screen when I was outside. So if I wanted to sit out in the garden or in the summer, or was sitting in a train where there's lots of light coming in through the windows, or just being outside somewhere, my screen looks black to me and I couldn't see it anyway, so I had to try and teach myself VoiceOver. But the lessons were really helpful because I was taught lots of gestures and some other tips and tricks which I didn't know. And they've actually made it better to use VoiceOver, and now I try to be a full-time VoiceOver user. You've probably heard this thing talking to me while I've been talking to you guys. I'm not going to show you everything that I've learned, because if I did that we would be here for like 3.5–4 hours. More, because each lesson was 1.5 hours long and I did 4 lessons. You guys did the maths and tell me in the comments how long we actually did over learning everything that there was to learn about VoiceOver. So yeah, I'm not going to teach you everything. I'm going to show you some of the useful things that I know, maybe already know, and some of the things that he has also taught me, because yeah, it's fun for you guys to see how a phone works for a blind person. You would never imagine that a touchscreen phone would work for somebody who doesn't see, right? It's a really weird concept, but it works really well. I'm going to bring you guys in closer and I'm going to let you see my phone screen and show you some of the things I've learned. Okay, so we're in closer to the screen, and the first thing I should probably let you guys know, in case you're wondering what the weird sound is in the background, is that I actually have someone on Skype. There's a really friendly mouse in my computer, and they're going to help me with this video, otherwise it's not going to work and I'm not going to be able to demonstrate some of the things that you're doing. So that's the weird background noise that you can hear. One of the first things that I learned, and one of the first things that it's really important about a phone, any phone, doesn't matter what kind of phone it is being able to pick up. And yes, it's going to yell at me while I'm trying to talk to you guys. So in order to pick up an iPhone, there's a really useful gesture, which is a 2-finger tap. And you tap 2 times with 2 fingers and it should pick up an incoming phone call or an incoming FaceTime call. And hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that to you whenever it decides to ring. Ah, here we go, so convenient and such a time as well. So if I tap 2 times, which I just did, it picks up FaceTime. It's talking a bunch of crap at me because it likes to do that when you pick up a phone call. And now I have my friend here on FaceTime instead of on Skype. It killed your Skype, it killed my Skype, I don't know what happened there, but okay. That's how you pick up, is with a 2-finger tap. And when you want to hang up, you do exactly the same thing. You tap 2 times with 2 fingers and you can hang up FaceTime again. Bye, Mercy. And it's really easy, it hangs up. There are loads of gestures on a phone. You can do gestures with 1 finger, and the most simple gesture with 1 finger is to just touch the screen. And whatever is under your finger, VoiceOver reads. If you want to select something that's under your finger, for example, Facebook, you tap double with 1 finger and it opens whatever was under your finger. So that's really handy and useful. It's one of the things I already knew. One of the really useful things that you will see me doing a lot in this video while the phone is talking to me is when it's talking, if I tap 1 time with 2 fingers on the screen, it shuts it up. And if I tap again with 2 fingers, it actually starts to read the screen again. So it's kind of like a play pause button with 1 single tap with 2 fingers, stops it from talking. And it will continue from where it left off if you tap with 2 fingers again. One of my favourite gestures, which I actually learned while I was taking my lessons, is a really easy gesture that makes it easy to jump back a step when you're somewhere in the middle of an application. Instead of looking for a back button, there's an actual gesture that will activate those back buttons so that you don't need to go and look for them and find them themselves. So let's first turn the volume up a little bit because this is quiet. Okay, so we'll go find Twitter. And what's really handy about Twitter right now is that I have notifications. I think there's a notification in my normal notifications and not the private message, so we'll go look for that.
Startpagina tabblad. Meldingen tabblad. Een nieuw item.
Yeah.
Meldingen. Koptekst. Ep13 blind. Hashtag we aarde passingers vindt een tweet waarin je bent vermeld leuk.
Okay, so somebody's liking one of my tweets that I tweeted out. Let's, for example, say I wanted to reply to that tweet.
Hashtag we aarde passingers vindt een tweet waarin je bent vermeld leuk.
Which is actually not possible, I think, when somebody likes it. It's actually not possible, I think, when somebody likes it, so I'm just going to go down to the next one so I can demonstrate that to you. Alright, double tap on it to open it because that then shows all the buttons underneath for answering and liking and whatever. So say for example I answered my message and I want to go back to my list of notifications now. Instead of having to look for these stupid back buttons that are at the top of the screen somewhere, I can take my 2 fingers and I can draw a Z on the screen or a zigzag movement or however it is you want to call it. I'm going to go from left to right, I'm going to go from right to left, and then I'm going to go from back again from left to right, and I need to do it really quick, otherwise it doesn't recognise the gesture. So let's try and do that to get back to my list of notifications.
Meldingen. Ep13 blind.
And that worked in 1 time, which doesn't always happen for me, which is really cool. So this is a really easy way of taking a step back because, yeah, sometimes it's really hard to find those back buttons. There are a couple of other really cool gestures that I find really handy. They're to do with reading the screen, so I'm going to open my website if I can find it.
JustConnect.
Also.
Safari. Adres. 10%. Reader beschikbaar. Koppeling. Navigatie, herkenningspunt.
So I've got my website open and I can now do two things to actually get it to read my website. I can take two fingers and swipe upwards, and if I'm going to do that, it will make it read everything from the top of the page down. So it will read all of the links, all of the text on the page, absolutely everything from the top to the bottom. So if I swipe upwards with two fingers.
Koppeling. Navigatie, herkenningspunt. Follow my Facebook. Koppeling. Follow my Flickr. Koppeling. Add to circle Google+. Koppeling. Follow my Twitter. Koppeling.
So it's actually reading all the links on the page. Now if I know, because it's my website, that there's a piece of text in the middle of the page, so if I go and touch that piece of text.
Welcome. Kopniveau 1.
Okay, and I want it now to read from that piece of text instead of reading the whole screen. I can swipe downwards with two fingers.
Welcome. Hi, my name is Cody. I am congenital rubella syndrome warrior. This means I am visually impaired, need to use a wheelchair and have many other limitations.
So those are also two really neat gestures. Sometimes it's also important to know how to close your apps. It's not something that Apple or other tech geeks like Cult of Mac and Mac Rumors, those type of websites, they don't recommend doing it because it doesn't actually save that much power. But I personally noticed that when there are too many in the background, the phone's processor will slow down, or I will just get confused because there's too many open. So yeah, it's really handy to know how to close apps, and I was taught a couple of ways to do this. One of the ways, which actually doesn't work for me, is to take all 5 fingers on the screen and pinch inwards. I'm not even going to attempt to show you that because I end up screwing my phone every time I do it, but you're apparently supposed to place all 5 fingers on the screen and pinch inwards, and it will bring up the app switcher so that you can switch out, close out of the apps. It doesn't work for me to do that, so I'm not going to try it. I can also do it the normal way that you guys without VoiceOver are used to doing it, which is by double tapping on the home button.
Appkiezer, Twitter, actief.
It will open the app chooser and I can swipe left or right to go through the different apps.
Twitter, actief. Berichten, actief. Facebook, actief. Messenger, actief. Mail, actief. Mail. Messenger, Facebook, berichten, Twitter, Safari, actief. Handelingen beschikbaar.
And it just said to me, handelingen beschikbaar, which basically means there are actions available. And that means I can swipe up or down now to activate one of these actions. So if I swipe upwards, or not.
Safari, actief. Handelingen beschikbaar.
Okay, my phone's being weird. I'm going to use the Rotor to actually get to the actions.
Interpunctie, verticale handelingen.
And now I should be able to swipe upwards.
Sluit Safari.
And it says Sluit Safari.
Safari sluiten.
Which is close Safari, and I have tapped 2 times with 1 finger, and that actually closes out of the program. There's an even easier way to do it, which requires less tapping. So we'll find another app that I can close.
Berichten, Facebook, Messenger, Mail, actief.
To close the mail program
Handelingen
for
beschikbaar.
the whole fun of it. I can just take 3 fingers and swipe upwards with those 3 fingers on the screen, and it will also close the active tab. So let's demonstrate that to you guys.
Mail sluiten, Messenger, actief.
That's way much easier and way much quicker than finding the actions. I also showed you guys just now, you also saw the Rotor, and the Rotor is one of the things that I use on a daily basis because it contains lots of hidden functions that you would otherwise not be able to get to. I use it on a daily basis, and one of the functions I use it for on a daily basis is to switch between language. And the reason I want to switch between language is because not everybody posts on their Facebook in Dutch. Some of my friends post in Swedish or German or English. So yeah, it's really handy for me to be able to switch between different languages. So the Rotor is basically like a dial. You place 2 fingers on the screen and you turn your fingers as if you're turning the dial on an old-fashioned radio, like the volume button on an old-fashioned radio. So to do that, I'll demonstrate that again.
Interpunctie, woorden, tekens, containers, kopregels.
And I need to keep going through these options until I hear the one that I want to access. Then in this case, I'm listening for the word taal, which is language.
Taal.
There it is. And now I can swipe up or down to switch between language.
Deutsch,
German.
English, US.
And it actually doesn't matter whether I swipe up or downwards, it will still go through the languages. So if I swipe down,
Deutsch,
it will go back to German.
Standaardtaal, Nederlands,
And it will
Nederlands.
go back to the standard language, which is Dutch. I can use 3 fingers and swipe from left to right or from right to left to switch through the start pages.
Pagina 3 van 5. Terrarium. Pagina 4 van 5. Lijstplanner. Pagina 3 van 5. Pagina 2 van 5.
That's it.
Facebook.
That's how we get through the start pages. And I can actually think of one more thing that I'm going to show you guys for today, and that's how to access the notification center and the control panel. Normally you would just swipe up or swipe down depending on which one you want to access, but with VoiceOver you can't do that because that's for the rotor functions. So what you have to do is you have to find the clock at the top of your screen.
Hoofdzuiden, 14:47. Statusbalk onderdeel.
Okay, it's reading the time and it says it's the status bar section of the screen.
14:48.
And now I can swipe down to get to the notification center, and I do that with 3 fingers.
Berichtencentrum. Geselecteerd. Vandaag. Knop 1 van 2.
Okay, and you're wondering how do I then get to the, if I swipe down to get to the notification center, how do I get to the control panel? Well, I hit the home button.
Facebook.
I need to find the clock again.
Tele2 netwerk.
Or,
Statusbalk onderdeel.
because my finger decided it wanted to go to the left, or any part of the status bar. So I've just found my network information, and that also works for me to swipe up with 3 fingers then.
Bedieningspaneel. Vliegtuigmodus.
And
Uit.
it will open the control panel, which is really useful to know, because otherwise I would be having to go through loads of settings to turn my Wi-Fi on and off, for example, which would be really irritating. Okay guys, well now you can see who was helping me do the incoming FaceTime call so that I could demonstrate to you how to pick that up. Wave to the internet.
Hello.
Oh, okay. We're even saying hello to the internet. We're that brave today. I hope you guys learned something, or at least found it interesting, because maybe you don't need to learn, I don't know. I hope you found it interesting. That's basically how I use my phone on a daily basis. And I am pleased to announce I am now a full-time VoiceOver user. I actually learned enough to be able to use the phone all day, every day, without using my eyes. And I have to say, it's decreasing the amount of headaches I'm getting, so I'm really happy with it. That's it guys, that's what I wanted to show you today. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Until next time, be good, and if you can't be good, at least have fun. Bye guys.